Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. I hope you're doing well. I watched one of G-Man's videos about Billy Joe Saunders. Shout out to G-Man, of course. Go and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm sure you have. Excellent channel. And he did a video on Billy Joe Saunders and his return, proposed return. I think Saunders is coming back in December. And of course, a lot of the discussion was really about the fact that Saunders puts on so much weight, hasn't fought for 2 years, quit against Canelo, and what's he got left? Is he coming back for a few paychecks, or is that it? Is that really the whole story, or does he actually think he can make another run at a title? Well, and also he's no spring chicken anymore. He's in boxing terms, getting on a little bit. And of course, the question is, let me get comfy here. Ooh, getting cramp. Right, the question is, has he wrecked his body through not living the life? Which, of course, can happen with boxers. Some very, very talented fighters just have sort of spewed their sort of talent over the years. They've taken years off their careers because they just haven't lived the life that a boxer should. You cannot cut corners if you're a professional athlete of any sort, but if it's a combat sport, you're going to get hurt, and you might get hurt permanently. Now, it got me thinking, because who is Saunders' big rival? Well, Chris EUBANK Jr. And it occurred to me that he's actually mentioned Chris EUBANK Jr. as a potential opponent for his comeback, if it ever happens, of course. And EUBANK has to get through Liam Smith, which I don't think he will, but I could be wrong. Perfectly, you could make a case for him winning the return with Liam Smith, no problem. But it occurred to me there are different ways of fighters ruining their bodies, whether they realise they're doing it or not. Because you can go the way that Saunders and many others. I mean, Frankie Gavin is a good example. I think Frankie Gavin, certainly as an amateur, was terrific, and he did win British and Commonwealth titles as a pro, but he kind of underachieved because he was always overweight, and coming in overweight, and he was being given life and death by people his talent suggested he should stand them on their heads, but they were like Curtis Woodhouse, give him a good fight, and that's just one example of many you could use, but there are different ways of spoiling your body. And EUBANK, it occurs to me that EUBANK Jr., who is, Saunders' nemesis, bête noire, whatever you want to call it, he may have but badly diminished his body in a different way, a way that's often not really mentioned. It's a sort of belief that if you are constantly training, you're constantly a gym rat, you're constantly, working out and running and doing your drills and all this, that's a good thing. Well, when you're young and your body repairs itself quickly and is full of energy and you have that sort of youthful vigour and verve, okay, you can get away with that. But as you get older, you really can't get away with that. Certainly cutting weight is a thing that can diminish your career, and is very, very dangerous apart from anything else. For those that don't know, when you cut weight, you take off, a lot of the fluid, the brain sits in the skull, in the fluid, and you drain the fluid off the brain, and therefore if you cut weight too quickly or too much of it, your brain can rattle around inside like a coin in a box, hence you get brain bleeds. That's one way of wrecking your body, of endangering yourself, cutting weight all the time. And what does EUBANK Jr. do? He's constantly in the gym, he's constantly cutting weight. He's fought at 168 for a long time. He came back down to 160 at the age he is. He's 33 now. And there is a danger there. There is a danger. A lot of people are pointing towards the perceived elbow. It's questionable whether there was an elbow in there. There may have been. Different. Again, it's another one of those different angles show different perceived evidences. But the elbow that Smith supposedly landed on EUBANK, a lot of people say, well, that's what did him. And EUBANK himself says, I know what you did. You mastered the dark arts, and I've never been hit like that before. And well, bear in mind, EUBANK was training for Conor Benn, boiling himself down to 157. This is a guy who years ago was fighting at 168. And he got down, I think, 159 before the fight was aborted. And then he had, was it 2 months off, mate? Well, he wouldn't have been out of the gym for 2 months, but, you know, there was 3 months, was it? I can't remember the exact time scale. But suddenly he's in the ring against Liam Smith at 160. So his body isn't getting any chance to replenish. I always think of the example, I've said this before in videos, but I think it's the perfect example. Roy Jones Jr. bulking up from light heavyweight to take on John Ruiz at heavyweight. I think Jones, I mean, he weighed in with the tracksuit and everything. He probably had coins in his pockets or whatever. I think he weighed about 198. So let's say, for the sake of argument, he's 23 pounds over the light heavyweight limit. He beats Ruiz. And then he comes down to 175. And he looks a shell of himself. He had that close shave with Tava. I think he did win that first fight with Tava, but it was close, and it was a lot closer than I thought it would be. And in the rematch, he got knocked out in 2 rounds. And in the following fight, he fought Glenn Johnson and got starched. Punch resistance diminished, speed and reflexes diminished. Suddenly, he couldn't do what he presumed he'd always be able to do, because that's what fighters are like. Well, I can do this, I can do that. Haven't you seen me do this? Of course I can do it. Well, actually, no. Skills diminish with time. The old cliche, father time is undefeated. So I think there's a very realistic chance EUBANK has gone down the same route and has spoilt his body. He shouldn't be fighting at 160. I just think it's ridiculous. 168, I mean, there's this idea, it's like Michaela Mayer is jumping from 130 to 147, and she said in an interview, I think yesterday, she said, I always thought as a fighter that going through the pain and the torment of cutting weight and having to run everywhere and, you know, starving myself was part of the game. And then I realised, actually, no, it's not. I can go easier on myself. You know, the amount of pain I'm feeling is not proportionate to the amount of success I'm going to have. And I think a lot of fighters make that mistake. So yes, if you're a Billy Joe Saunders or a Frankie Gavin or whoever else you want to mention, maybe even to some extent Ricky Hatton, although Hatton had a lot of success, of course. Yeah, you can blow up in weight, you can booze, you can do what Tyson Fury did, put on a ton of weight and take it off. And maybe if you're young enough, you can do that for a few years. But that's ultimately going to take years off your career. Likewise, in a very different way, you can destroy, is that too strong a word, destroy? You can badly mar your body, let's put it that way, by overexerting yourself, doing too much. And yet on the surface of it, it looks like you're the perfect pro, you're the consummate pro. But you're not really, because you're not giving your body time to relax, to, you know, your body's probably, if your body could talk, it could probably be saying, for Christ's sake, give me a break here, I'm doing everything I can. You know, there are different ways of wrecking your body. There are different ways of diminishing the length of your career. And it isn't always about eating too many donuts or sitting on the sofa and eating ice cream. And I think this may well have happened to Chris EUBANK Jr. My prediction for the rematch with Liam Smith is I think Smith will win on points. But I would not rule out a stoppage in the last third of the fight for the reasons I've just given. You know, this will be a real telling fight for me. The first fight, EUBANK will say it was an aberration, I just got caught, and he throws in the argument about the elbow and so on. Okay, you know, fair enough. But this is going to really reveal just where EUBANK is in a physiological sense, which ultimately determines his career and his punch resistance and his stamina and so on. He always had a great chin and, you know, decent enough engine. I mean, he finished stronger against Saunders than Saunders did against him. But the first 6 rounds he did nothing and Saunders won the fight. So, yeah, just food for thought. You got any opinions on this subject? What, you know, how fighters can ruin their careers? Maybe ruin them, maybe diminish them without realising. You know, we know about the obvious negatives. What about the hidden negatives? Give me your thoughts below if you've got any. And as always, thanks for subscribing to the channel. Please subscribe if you're new, hit the like button, that'll be a big help. Spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing and hit that like button as well, and the subscription button, and, you know, yeah, hit every button you can see. Go on, why not? Comments below, I'll answer them later. Bye for now.